Hey guys, this is Rishabh Gang, and in this video we're gonna talk about how to score really good marks in cost accounting. Financial management subject I will cover in next video, as in this video only I'm gonna do the chapter wise discussion of cost accounting. So first thing, what was my score in cost accounting? My score was 72, which I feel it was really good. You can see here, because I attempted a paper of around 92 marks and I got 72. So I think I would be able to help you a lot in this subject as well. So let's get started. So for the first question is from where you should be studying. I recommend, if you have less than 3 months, then the only book you should be using is the PM, because this is a really nice book. I think it will actually help you in the concept side as well. A little bit on the concept side, obviously, because no explanation is given much, but in practice, but in practice part and the variety of questions, it's good enough. If your concepts are weak, then I'll suggest you to read your coaching notes. First preference, second preference, study material. If your concepts are really weak and you just don't know some chapters, for example, overhead, standard costing, or any big chapter like this, like them, and if you want to do a very good study of them, then I recommend you to buy this book called as Tulsiyan. I have recommended it in almost every practical subject, and I will recommend it in the cost accounting as well. I was very weak in this subject, this chapter called as overheads. I hope it is good of you. I hope you understand that chapter really well, because that is a little hard chapter, and if you haven't understood it in coaching classes, then it becomes really hard to study that thing. But I will give you advice for overhead as well. So if your one or two chapters are really weak and you don't know anything about them, or you haven't paid enough attention, then I think you should buy this book. So let's just start the chapter wise discussion in cost accounting. The first question which actually pops in our mind is, Rishabh, from where should we study the theory part? I suggest your in your coaching, you must have been given some coaching notes for theory. Like it would be around 30 to 40 pages coaching theory notes, in which past examination questions would have been summarized. I suggest that you study it from your coaching summary, coaching theory notes. If you don't have those notes, and if you are planning to study from practice manual, then I suggest you, then I completely say a no, because in practice manual and study material, the theory part has been given with too much explanation, and it will take you a really long time to study the theory from study material and practice manual. So that's why I recommend either you do it from the coaching notes, or along with this book, there comes a book called as Quick Revision for Cost Accounting. I studied my theory from here, so it's like it's free, right? With this with the book, big book. So it has this thing called as revision one day before examination, and it has many things like important methods, accounting treatment, terms, distinction, short answer theory questions. I will just show you some. I really think this will help you a lot here. Yeah, let's see. For example, what I will recommend you from this chapter, the important methods chapter. Read, learn all the questions which have came in past exams, and how which आपको कितना अच्छे से पढ़ना चाहिए. दैट्स अनदर क्वेश्चन विच राइजेज इन आवर माइंड. सो आई विल रिकमेंड कि कॉस्ट में तो आप चीज़ें बस अच्छे से समझ लीजिएगा, और एक बार उसको अपनी लैंग्वेज में इंग्लिश में बोल के देख लीजिएगा. दैट्स गुड इनफ. हाउएवर, इफ द क्वेश्चन हैज कम मोर देन 2 times or even 2 times, then I recommend that you should mug a little, so that you will be able to write it with a little perfection if it comes in exam. So my tip for theory, do it from this book or your coaching notes, and prefer doing those questions which have came in past examination. For example, this question regarding waste, scrap, spoilage, defectives in cost accounts has come 2 times, so I would study it really nicely. Okay. So and avoid those questions which have not come in the past examination, because there are a lot of questions. from which you should do only those questions which have came in past examinations. All right, so let's do the practical part, and please do not avoid this theory part. Theory comes for 8 to 16 marks in cost and 8 to 16 marks in FM. So in case a tough practical question land up in the examination paper, then only theory will get you, and then theory will come at your rescue. Alright, so let's start with the practical part. It has approximately 13 chapters. The first chapter, that is basic concepts. I don't recommend that you study it at all from a PM. I don't think it's necessary. Anything in theory will be covered in this book. Alright. This is the material chapter. The average marks is 4.125, and if this chapter comes, it will come off approximately 4 to 8 marks. So I think you should do this chapter really good. It's a very easy chapter, material chapter. Basically a formula based chapter, and it is very easy. I think you should do the basic formulas. You should learn them. And one tip which I will give from my personal experience is that while before starting any chapter, if the chapter is a formula based chapter, then on the first page of the of your rough copy of that chapter, write all the formulas by yourself, by different color pens, like pink, orange, green, red, whatever color you like and whatever color is appealing to you. Write these formulas at that front page, so that it will actually help you in memorizing these formulas, because these formulas are the backbone of this chapter. Alright. Here I will also tell you how much in depth you should do this chapter. Actually, this chapter has many repetitive questions, so I recommend you to do an audit. So what's an audit in cost accounting? You pick up your calculator and do the question on the calculator itself. If the question is repetitive, or if the question is very easy and you think you don't have time, then better do the question on your calculator and check the answer here. In some cases the questions are really good. For example, question 2 is really good. Question 3 is indeed very good. This kind of question have actually came in examination many times. So I suggest you do this question. There are 2 to 3, 4 repetitive type of question of this type. So you can do two questions, and in rest of the 2 questions you can do an audit, so that you actually save a lot of time also. And when I say do this question, I mean with proper formatting, so that when you do only 2 questions, you will get the knowledge of doing these type of questions. And before doing any chapter, I seriously recommend in all the practical subjects that you first read your coaching notes or Tulsiano study material, whatever you prefer, so that your brain gets those concepts back, so that it would be easy for you to do it. In the question number 4 is also very good. I've seen people who don't know what is risk of being out of stock, so I will just tell you out that thing. Not much I will tell. For example, here in this type of question, this table would be given. So it's written here 15% risk of being out of stock. So 15% risk of being out of stock means start summing the numbers from here. 5 plus 5 10, and 10 plus 5 15. Alright, so the maximum day it can allow is 7 days. So in the formula you will write 7 days here at the place of max lead time minus average lead time, that is 6 days, which have been given here as well. Generally takes place means that's the average lead time. So that's the thing I wanted to tell you here. And the EOQ formula, please learn it by heart, because it comes in FM also. And if you think anything, and if you find that any part of the answer is it was a little hard for you at the first time, then please star mark it like that, star mark it like this. And for example, I had a little problem in the first time while doing this question. A company manufactures 5,000 units of a product per month. So first thing it is, in exam we don't have per month. While calculating with the help of EOQ, you need per annum. So remember, if any term comes like per month, you have to convert it to per annum. And also remember that the material we are talking about is the raw material and not the product which the company manufactures. So we have to do the calculation for the raw material which has been discussed here, and not about the product which has been discussed above. So we have to take the numbers of the raw material rather than that of the products. I hope I hope this thing help you a little. So in this chapter, my strategy would be if, for example, this type of question has come again, right? So in this type of question, my strategy would be you do 2 to 3 questions really nicely, and 1 or 2 questions you can do an audit as well, right? Now let's move forward. You see, again this type of question has come, so please save your time and don't waste much. I think question number 17 is really good. I think you should be doing that. And question number 19 is also really good. I wasn't able to do this question at the first time, so you should be doing this. In Stowe's ledger and method of pricing of material issue, I seriously recommend you to do to be really very careful when you are when you are taking an entry of receipts and when you are taking an entry of issues, because at times I messed the receipt entry with issue entry and the answer got wrong, as well as when there are normal and abnormal losses. Please treat them like the way it should be, and don't forget. I actually did one mistake in one of my coaching tests, that there was a abnormal loss, I think, and I treated it like an issue thing. So there the answer got wrong. So please be careful about that. Then I will suggest don't do the theory from this thing. It is very big. Okay, and please remember the treatment of abnormal losses and the normal losses and their effect, which would come in the store ledger. For example, here it is written that 180 kg is abnormal loss, hence it will be transferred to costing P&L. So you should be knowing that thing as well, right? The question number 27 is really good. I actually did it once only, but please do it. It is a very large question, and I am sure you would be lethargic in doing this question, but please do that also. Now we come to the most worst chapter in cost, I think, labor. I seriously hated this chapter, but my hatred won't affect much because the chapter comes to 4 to 8 marks, and you have to do it either way. So let's do it in the positive sense, and let's discuss it now. So I would say, you see, there are various type of methods which you would find useless, but it doesn't matter, because ICI thinks it is important, thus you have to study. So please learn the formulas by heart. You have to learn it. In any case, you have to learn it. Alright, and these things also, there was a thing here, differential time rate and all. Please, you have to learn the formulas at any cost, right? Here I won't be able to help you much, because even I did this chapter because it was in the course. मतलब ये तो मजबूरी में चैप्टर करना पड़ गया था. Alright, let's start with discussing the questions. Here it starts. So I would really suggest you to do all the questions of this chapter at least once before examination. In your first time, please do not do audit in this chapter. It would be a suicide kind of thing. So like I did an audit, but this was the second time. Like I first did all the questions, and second time I did an audit. So please take care of that. Like this type of question comes in exam many times. The first question in which you have asked of separation method, replacement method, new recruitment, flux method, which are really easy. So you should know it very nicely. Now let's talk more about in the effectively hourly wages rate and incentives and total earnings. I think this topic is really important. You have to do this chapter really nicely, and please don't think of leaving this chapter. This chapter will come for 4 to 8 marks, and the chances of coming this chapter are really high. All right. Then this Rowan premium plan, Emerson's efficiency plan. You would be asked to compare between them and which the company should choose. These type of questions will come, and you have to do it. You should know how to do it. Now there is alright, this question, I really love this question number 21 and question number 22. In this question, it's like every in 21st question, every company has a different kind of incentive scheme, and you would be asked to compare all of them, right? So please be careful and don't apply the first method to every company. In that case your time would be wasted. So please read the question really nicely कि कौन सी कंपनी में कौन सी इंसेंटिव स्कीम लगानी है ना. फिर I am sorry I couldn't help you much in this chapter because this chapter is really very I think tedious as well as useless, but still you have to do it. This question is also really nice, 26 question. In this worst case, optimal case, best case, production in units and all, I think this question can come for 8 marks. Now we have one of again the worst chapters in cost, but it is very useful. If you know how to do it, then it would be useful. Alright, so how to do this chapter? I actually saw a YouTube video for it. A guy, I think a CA, he is qualified as CA now. So he made a video series of 3 videos on overheads, and it has been uploaded on YouTube for free, obviously. So I saw that video series along and study from my Tulsian book. So I got the concepts of this chapter, and once you get the concept of the chapter, this chapter would be easy for you. So I would put the link of this guy's video on overheads in the comment section below, so that you could get help from him. And I will also show you where I think Tulsian would be helpful to you, because it was helpful to me here. And I don't own this Geo thing. One of the things I really like about Tulsian is these steps which have been given in the book, which helps which even a layman, if studying the chapter, he will be able to understand this thing, steps and all. And really many questions are given, so that you can just read them, and you will understand how the thing goes on. Please don't think that I will solve Tulsian. It's a suicide attempt to solve Tulsian before if you have 3 months for the attempt, because it is too long. Just read it, understand the concepts, and start doing the questions from PM. So let's discuss the things from PM now. It has many kind of questions, but I will recommend you the kind of question you should be doing. For example, this machine hour rate thing, the fixed expenses, the direct expenses and all. Please know the bifurcation of these expenses, which expense would come where, because there is many confusion in PM. So please confirm it with your teacher or coaching notes. Alright, now this question is really good. This ML Auto Limited one, question number 7. I think you should be doing this question really nicely. In under absorption and over absorption of overheads and use of supplementary rate, though the question is really easy, but you should be knowing how to write the theory as well, because you have to support your answer with the theory. For example, in question number 9, you have to write the theory for the disposal, the 2 methods for disposal of under absorbed overheads in the problem maybe. So you have to write this theory as well and then solve the question. So I really suggest you to learn this theory in the first at the first time only when you are solving this type of questions. Alright, now we come to the main thing, distribution of overheads. This is a really important part. This question number 12 has almost every type of distribution method. So I think you should be doing this question really judiciously and religiously, so that you understand these distribution methods. If you don't know these distribution methods, that guy in the video would explain you really nicely, as well as Tulsian would help you a lot in understanding these distribution methods, in case you don't know them. Okay, please do this question very nicely, and I suggest please do all the questions of this distribution thing very nicely, because there are great chances that this type of question will come. Alright, this overheads and selling price, like this question number 17 has really tricky type of equations they have made and all. So I think you should be doing this question as well. And the question in which I have made a star, I think those questions are important, so you can note down that also. and there will be kind of question where you would be asked to write comments in examination. First thing, do not ignore that comment question. It has marks, right? I actually gave one of my coaching tests in FM, and I simply ignored that comment thing, and my marks got deducted. So that's why you should know how to write the comments, because these things come in exam. All right. Now we have this miscellaneous question thing. I will actually tell you one thing which you can apply to many questions. For example, in this question number 21, we have to find the rated capacity, practical capacity, normal capacity, and actual capacity. So at the first time when you are doing these type of questions, or when your teacher is teaching, please write the meaning of them, because you are not gonna remember it one day before exam. So for example, what is rated capacity? I wrote according to manufacturer. In practical capacity, I wrote according to actually utilized capacity of plant. Normal capacity क्या होता है? Capacity of plant utilized on sales experience. And actual capacity, that is actually achieved capacity. Alright, so you can write this kind of explanation in all your chapters. Now the chapter comes in non-integral accounting. Here I will seriously recommend you one thing. I haven't done this chapter really nicely. So I will give you only one tip here, which is while doing any question, first make all the accounts, and when you are starting doing the entries, that is a general entry. For every entry will have dual effect, right? So give the dual effect simultaneously. For example, if there is a cost ledger control account debit to store ledger control, so at the same time, after writing this entry, do an entry here also, so that you won't miss these entries. Otherwise it would be a really big problem in tallying the answers and all. And this chapter is a really easy chapter, and it can come for 4 to 8 marks. So please do it nicely. In this there are the non-integrated accounting and integrated accounting. Please do both of them really good. It has a unique kind of question called as reconciliation of profits. It can come for 8 marks. So do this thing also very nicely. It is a little tricky and a little hard, so that's why do it nicely. And if you don't know how to do them, please refer your study material of Tulsian, whatever means you have at that time. Alright, now come to the next chapter. That is job costing and batch costing. I don't think our teacher didn't teach us this thing, because I don't think they even come in the exam. There are hardly 2 to 3 questions in this chapter. So if you don't have time, please ignore it. Now comes contract costing, which is a really good chapter, and which will help you in AS7 also. That is the revenue of the contract revenue thing. So in this chapter, please learn the formulas really well, and PM is enough for this chapter, I think. I had a little problem in solving this chapter in March-April months, because I didn't revise it from a long time. In this chapter also you have journal entries and all. But I will recommend is, if you don't, I had a little concept issue in this chapter, so I preferred Tulsian here. If you also have some concept issues and all, please use Tulsian. Okay, so let me think what advice I can give to you on this particular chapter. Alright, so it's like you have this notional profit thing in this chapter. Yeah, here it is, and you have to make reserve of those profit which does not go into the P&L of this year. So please know its treatment really nicely, because there have been many instances where I did a mistake in that topic. So please understand it really nicely, and if you don't know how to treat it, please study it from the Tulsian. And there is this thing of escalation clause. That also I think needs your attention. I think you should be doing all the questions, or almost all the questions in this chapter, because many times the type of questions or a new adjustment have been added into the question. So that's why I think you should be doing all the questions. I will just say you in which chapter you have to do all the questions. I forgot it. Labor, you have to do all the questions. Overhead, you should be doing all the questions. non-integrated accounts, you can audit questions if your concepts are really strong. And in contract costing, I think you should be doing all the questions. And now comes the operating costing. This is the chapter which you are gonna love if you because this is a kind of practical chapter, I think. So you should be liking this chapter. In this transport agency one, I really like this bus question, the school bus question number 4. I have made one thing, like please remember in this chapter क्या होता है, हम कितनी बार चीज़ें जैसे बस जाएगी है ना, तो फ्रॉम स्कूल टू स्टूडेंट्स होम एंड होम टू स्कूल, ठीक है, फिर वापस वही केस होएगा शाम को भी, मतलब जब बच्चा घर आएगा है ना. तो प्लीज़ याद रखना कि वो एक साइड का निकाला है आपने कि यू हैव कवर्ड बोथ द ट्रिप्स, नहीं तो आप वहाँ पे गड़बड़ कर देंगे तो आई थिंक दैट कुड बी अ प्रॉब्लम. एंड प्लीज़ नो द like it is a very technical question, so please do it really nicely. And then you have this transport questions in which you drop the cargo from one place to another, as well as that milk question. I think there is a dairy question here, so please do that question also very nicely. Is it there or not? Let me check. This is a milk question, so that's also really good. Please do it nicely. Then you have this airline question. Airline question is easy, I think. This clubs and library question is really nice, and so you should be doing that question also. Hotel and lodges. If you don't know how to do this question in Tulsian, I think this chapter has been wonderfully explained. I did a question of hotel and lodges from that Tulsian, and it was a very detailed question, right? It actually came in one of our coaching test, and it was like ये होटल का ही क्वेश्चन था. उसमें पहले तो उसमें 3 टाइप की रूम अलग अलग, ठीक है, फिर उसमें सबकी फिर महीने भी दे दिए, समर, विंटर, रेनी, वो उस टाइप के सीजन्स भी दे दिए उन्होंने. फिर उन्होंने रूम का वो भी बता दिया कि रूम में इतना खर्चा होता है. तो डैट बिकम्स अ प्रॉब्लम. अगर आपको उस टाइप के क्वेश्चन करने का मन हो, जो पीएम में नहीं है पर मे भी आ सकते हैं एग्जाम में, तो आप तुलसियान में देख सकते हैं, राइट. Now this chapter comes at process and operation costing. Again a really nice chapter and a really tricky and conceptual chapter. In this thing I would seriously recommend you कि the statement of equivalent production, people seriously don't know how to solve this thing. So I will just tell you the weighted average method one, the average method costing, as well as the FIFO method costing in statement of equivalent production, so that you would be able to understand it. Because many times I wasn't able to understand it, and I used to forget how they are doing. So I will just tell you that thing. There was a really nice example in this one day before exam. So let's start. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन फीफो मेथड, राइट. देखो फीफो मेथड में ऐसा होएगा, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपकी 800 यूनिट्स है, और आपकी जो ओपनिंग WIP की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, उसमें ओपनिंग WIP में 60% मटेरियल पहले से लगा हुआ आया है, 40% लेबर पहले से लगी हुई आई है, और 40% ओवरहेड पहले से लगे हुए आए हैं. तो जब आप इक्विवेलेंट प्रोडक्शन मेथड यूज़ करेंगे, तो आप जब ओपनिंग WIP लिखेंगे, तो इस साल जितना मटेरियल लगने वाला है, इस साल जितनी लेबर लगने वाली है, इस साल जितने ओवरहेड लगने वाले हैं, उनको यहाँ पे लिखेंगे. ऑलराइट. पर जब हम एवरेज मेथड लगाएंगे तो हम ओपनिंग WIP नाम का कोई हेड नहीं लिखेंगे उसमें, ठीक है. और फीफो मेथड में एक और चीज़ देखो, इस साल कौन कौन सी गुड्स कंप्लीट होएंगे, जो पिछले साल के क्लोजिंग WIP थे, जो इस साल ओपनिंग WIP बन गए, पहले तो वो कंप्लीट हो जाएंगे, है ना. और फिर जो इस साल अपन ने प्रोडक्ट चालू किया और जो इसी साल ख़त्म हो गया, वो इस साल के कंप्लीटेड में आ जाएगा, राइट. तो जो इसी साल बनाया, चालू किया और इसी साल कंप्लीट हो गया, वो पूरे 100% आएंगे, है ना. फिर जब अपन एवरेज मेथड से करेंगे, तो इस साल जितने भी कंप्लीट हुए, मतलब जो ओपनिंग WIP था वो कंप्लीट हुआ, और जो इस साल चालू किया उसी साल कंप्लीट हो गया, उसको भी अपन एवरेज मेथड में यूनिट ट्रांसफर में करेंगे. मतलब जितने इस साल कंप्लीट हुए उसका 100% ले गए. और जब अपन ने फीफो मेथड की थी, तो उसमें ओपनिंग WIP का अलग था, और जो इस साल बनाया और इस साल कंप्लीट हुआ उसका अलग था, है ना. तो प्लीज़ इसका थोड़ा ध्यान रखिएगा. I really want to tell you this thing in this chapter because I did lots of mistake in this chapter due to that thing. In this chapter I recommend कि आप इसमें भी मतलब 75% क्वेश्चन तो सॉल्व करे ही करिएगा, क्योंकि ये चैप्टर इज़ अ नाइस चैप्टर एंड ये एग्जाम में काफ़ी हद तक आता भी है। इसमें एक और चीज़ आपको बताऊंगा मैं, ये 3 प्रोसेस वाले क्वेश्चन आते हैं। इसमें आई विल गिव यू एन एडवाइस। हमें ये क्वेश्चन आया था एग्जाम में, और ये क्वेश्चन यहाँ तक 8 या 16 नंबर का आया था, एंड इट टुक माई 45 मिनट्स। दैट वॉज द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन आई अटेम्प्टेड, एंड इसके ने मेरे आधे से पौन घंटा खा लिया था। तो पहले देखिए, इसमें इस दिस टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन हैज रियली बिग प्रॉब्लम कि क्या 3 प्रोसेस एक दूसरे से इंटरलिंक्ड होती है, राइट? तो अगर आपका प्रोसेस एक्स में कुछ गड़बड़ हो गई छोटी सी भी, तो वो हर प्रोसेस में कैरी फॉरवर्ड होती रहेगी, है ना? एंड व्हेन दिस मिस्टेक्स गेट कैरी फॉरवर्ड, इसकी वजह से मुझे एग्जाम में बहुत बार चेकिंग करनी पड़ी थी इन क्वेश्चंस की। इसलिए आप इन क्वेश्चंस में प्लीज़ स्पीड बना लीजिएगा, ताकि आप एग्जाम में इतना ज़्यादा टाइम वेस्ट ना करें। अब आप सोचिए ना, 8 नंबर का क्वेश्चन था, उसमें मेरे आधे से 45 मतलब आधे से पौन घंटा लग गया, तो मेरा कितना टाइम वेस्ट हुआ। दैट्स द रीज़न मैं 92 मार्क्स ही अटेम्प्ट कर पाया था पेपर में, ठीक है? क्वेश्चन काफ़ी आसान टाइप का होता है, और इसमें अनरियलाइज प्रॉफिट निकालना आपको आना चाहिए ढंग से, ऑलराइट। फिर हम आते हैं, फिर तो ये चैप्टर बाकी सब तो आसान ही है इस चैप्टर में। थोड़ा इस चैप्टर को भी बिल्कुल अच्छे से पढ़िएगा। कॉस्ट इज़ अ वेरी टेक्निकल सब्जेक्ट आई थिंक, एंड FM इज़ मोर टेक्निकल देन कॉस्ट। इसलिए इन दोनों सब्जेक्ट में मैं आपकी इतनी ज़्यादा हेल्प नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ। आई एम रियली सॉरी फॉर डैट, क्योंकि यहाँ पे आपके अगर टीचर ने अच्छे से पढ़ाया तो ही आप ढंग से कर पाएंगे, अदरवाइज आपको बहुत डिटेल्ड सेल्फ स्टडी करनी पड़ेगी। नाउ लेट्स कम टू अनदर चैप्टर। ये एक चैप्टर वो अच्छा लगा था मैं, क्वेश्चन नंबर 19 वाला, ये स्टार लिमिटेड वाला, प्लीज़ इसको भी अच्छे से कर लीजिएगा। जॉइंट एंड बाय प्रोडक्ट नाम का चैप्टर है। इस चैप्टर को मैं पूरा छोड़ के गया था, मतलब ये मैंने पूरा इग्नोर किया था, इसलिए मैं आपकी इसमें ज़्यादा हेल्प नहीं कर पाऊँगा। पर इसमें आप एक चीज़ देखिए, जो आई थिंक आपको ये चैप्टर PM से पूरा कर लेना चाहिए अगर आपको करने का मन है तो, क्योंकि मैं तो ये चैप्टर छोड़ के चले गया था। दैट्स व्हाई आई वोंट बी एबल टू हेल्प यू हियर। नाउ लेट्स कम टू अनदर चैप्टर वेयर आई कैन हेल्प यू एट लीस्ट। ऑलराइट, स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग। स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग इज आई थिंक दैट इज़ ये चैप्टर ऐसा होता है जिनको CA फाइनल स्टूडेंट्स को भी नहीं आता है, IPCC स्टूडेंट्स को भी नहीं आता है। आई रिमेंबर माई रियल सिस्टर इज़ अ CA। इसका भी May 17 का अटैम्प्ट था उनका, फाइनल का फर्स्ट अटैम्प्ट था उनका, और शी क्लियर्ड CA फाइनल। उसको स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग आता ही नहीं, मतलब बहुत मुश्किल से आता था, और मैंने उसको 2 बार ये स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग सिखाया था। लाइक मैं IPCC का स्टूडेंट हूँ, और मैंने अपनी फाइनल की बहन को ये सिखाया था, और 2 बार सिखाया, और वो फिर भी उसको समझ में नहीं आया था। तो आई सीरियसली रिकमेंड यू, अगर आपके टीचर ने आपको ये चैप्टर अच्छे से नहीं सिखाया है और आपके पास ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं है, तो ये चैप्टर छोड़ दीजिएगा प्लीज़। और अगर आपके पास टाइम है और आपको सही में इस चैप्टर सीखना है, तो इस चैप्टर को बहुत डीपली एनालाइज करिएगा, या आप तुलसियान से इस चैप्टर को काफ़ी अच्छे से पढ़ लीजिएगा। आई विल रिकमेंड दैट थिंग। एंड मैं तुलसियान को प्रमोट नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मेरे को वो बुक अच्छी लगती है, इसलिए मैं आपको बताता हूँ, है ना। और एक और चीज़ मैं इस चैप्टर में आपको बोलना चाहूँगा, जैसे होता क्या है, देखो मटेरियल कॉस्ट वेरिएंस है ना। तो फॉर एग्जांपल ये है मेन फार्मूला, तो ये दोनों फार्मूले इसी से आए हैं, ठीक है। तो ये दोनों फार्मूले जब इसी से आए हैं, तो इस फार्मूले को जब आप तोड़ेंगे ना, मतलब ब्रैकेट खोलेंगे वगैरह वगैरह, तो ये दोनों फार्मूले आपके सामने आ जाएंगे, ठीक है। और दो जो ब्रैकेट्स हैं ना, वो कैंसिल हो जाएंगे, मतलब लास्ट में अगर आप इनको वापस जोड़ देंगे ना, तो यही आ जाएगा वापस, है ना। तो एक एक जो अपना होता है ना ब्रैकेट में जो चीज़ें लगी हुई होती है, जैसे ये लगा हुआ है, तो वो कैंसिल आउट हो जाएगा। आई नो आपको ज़्यादा समझ में नहीं आ रहा होगा, पर आप इस चैप्टर को अगर डीप में पढ़ेंगे तो फिर देखो इन दोनों का सम यही आएगा, है ना। तो जब आप इन दोनों चीज़ों को तोड़ोगे, इसको तोड़ोगे, तो ये दोनों फार्मूला आ जाएंगे उससे। तो वो एक तरीका होता है फार्मूला वेरीफाई करने का। अगर मुझे टाइम मिलेगा तो मैं आपको बता दूंगा अगले वीडियो में, कभी अगर मैं कॉस्ट का वीडियो वापस बनाऊंगा तो। अनलेस अदरवाइज ये चैप्टर आपको जब भी करना चाहिए जब आपको सही में ये चैप्टर बहुत अच्छे से आता हो। प्लीज़ इसमें टाइम मत वेस्ट करिएगा। बाकी ओवरहेड और लेबर तो फिर भी आप बुक से पढ़ सकते हैं। ये चैप्टर तो ऐसा है कि जिसमें आप हर क्वेश्चन में घूम ही जाएंगे, इसलिए रिकमेंड अगर आपको आता है तो ही पढ़े, नहीं तो फिर ये चैप्टर छोड़ दीजिएगा प्लीज़। इस चैप्टर में ज़्यादा टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करूँगा मेरा, नहीं सॉरी आपका, हम दोनों का टाइम ज़्यादा वेस्ट नहीं करूँगा मैं। मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग नाम का चैप्टर है, ये चैप्टर बिल्कुल बहुत अच्छा चैप्टर मानता हूँ मैं, और ये लेवरेजेस नाम का चैप्टर है FM में, उसके जैसे कि चैप्टर है। तो इस चैप्टर में आप क्या करिए, पहले तो लेवरेजेस नाम का चैप्टर जो है एफएम में उसको कर लीजिएगा। फिर आपको ये ब्रेक इवन सेल्स, फिर इन सब चीज़ों, मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी, ये सब चीज़ें आपको समझ में आ जाएगी, है ना। वो आप वो उधर कर लेंगे तो डैट वुड बी ईजी। और इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा फार्मूलेज है। और क्या होता है देखिए, होता क्या है फार्मूलेज में, LHS और RHS में चीज़ें हिलाते रहते हैं, इधर से इधर भेज दी, इधर से इधर भेज दी, तो नए फार्मूले आ जाते हैं और वो नए फार्मूले यहाँ पे लिखे हुए होते हैं। तो बस यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट थिंग और फिर आपको चीज़ें बनने लग जाएगी, है ना। सो इन चीज़ों को थोड़ा फार्मूले अच्छे से कर लीजिएगा, तो आई थिंक आपका ये चैप्टर भी बहुत अच्छे से हो जाएगा। इस चैप्टर में मैं आपको इस चैप्टर में दिस इज़ द काइंड ऑफ चैप्टर जहाँ पे आप टाइम नहीं हो आपके पास, तो यू कैन डू अ लॉट ऑफ ऑडिट हियर। क्योंकि अगर आपको फार्मूलेज आते हैं और आपका लेवरेज चैप्टर आपको आता है, तो आई थिंक आप यहाँ पे काफ़ी ज़्यादा ऑडिट कर सकते हो, अपना टाइम बता सकते हैं। क्वेश्चन नंबर 13 इज अ क्वेश्चन आई विच आई रियली थिंक इट इज़ अ रियली इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, तो वो क्वेश्चन आप एक हाथ अच्छे से कर लीजिएगा। और बाकी क्वेश्चन आपको जो टफ लगे वो कर लीजिएगा, और जो रिपीटेटिव लगे उनको ऑडिट कर लीजिएगा। इसके बाद एक चैप्टर आता है जिसका नाम है बजट नाम का चैप्टर है। ये चैप्टर आई रिकमेंड कि आप बहुत अच्छे से करके जाए। बहुत आसान चैप्टर है, और ये आपको एक चैप्टर है एफएम में कैश मैनेजमेंट नाम का, उसमें भी आपको हेल्प करेगा। तो और इसमें आप ये दिस इज़ अ वेरी काइंड ऑफ कॉमन सेंस चैप्टर, इसमें आपको कॉमन सेंस काम आएगा ज़्यादा। जब आप बजट बनाएंगे ना, कि फॉर एग्जांपल अगली मंथ की सेल्स ही है, तो मुझे इस महीने का क्लोजिंग स्टॉक क्या रखना है, ये सब चीज़ें आपकी कॉमन सेंस से आप सबको डेवलप होएगी। तो आई थिंक ये चैप्टर में आप यू कैन रियली डू गुड इफ़ यू स्पेंड टाइम इन दिस चैप्टर, है ना। और मैं आपको एक लास्ट में एक एडवाइस दूंगा, PM इज़ इनफ, पर आपको प्रॉब्लम आता है तो आप स्टडी मटेरियल सोल्यूशन देख सकते हैं। और वन मोर एडवाइस जो मैंने आपको अकाउंट में भी दी थी, सेल्फ बैलेंसिंग लेजर में, अगर आपको कोई टॉपिक नहीं आ रहा है और आप उसे छोड़ना भी नहीं चाहते हैं, तो उस टाइप के 3 से 4 क्वेश्चन देखिए, उनमें एक पैटर्न ऑब्जर्व करिए, उस पैटर्न को एक आपकी कॉपी में लिख लीजिए और वो ट्रीटमेंट याद कर लीजिएगा। दिस इज़ द लास्ट रिजॉर्ट अगर आपको नंबर चाहिए और आपके पास कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है, ठीक है। आप उस पैटर्न को नोट डाउन कर लीजिएगा, उस पैटर्न को अच्छे से समझ लीजिएगा, वो पैटर्न ही आपके कॉन्सेप्ट्स होते हैं, ठीक है। तो फॉर एग्जांपल आपको नॉन इंटीग्रेटेड अकाउंट्स नहीं आता, ठीक है, तो आपने क्या किया, आपने क्वेश्चन के ट्रीटमेंट देखना चालू किया, 3-4 क्वेश्चन देखे, उनके ट्रीटमेंट देखे एंट्रीज के, और फिर उनमें से एक पैटर्न ऑब्जर्व किया और वो पैटर्न समझ लिया, ताकि आपको अच्छे से मतलब आप वो क्वेश्चन कम से कम एग्जाम में आए तो अटेम्प्ट ज़रूर कर पाए, है ना। सो आई होप दिस वीडियो हैव बीन हेल्पफुल टू यू। आई नो कॉस्ट और एफएम मैं आपको ज़्यादा बता नहीं पाऊँगा, क्योंकि ये सब्जेक्ट्स बहुत ज़्यादा टेक्निकल मानता हूँ इनको मैं, तो इसमें बताना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है अनलेस आप बहुत डीप में चले जाओ पढ़ा समझाने में। सो आई होप कि ये वीडियो थोड़ी बहुत तो हेल्प आपकी कर रही हो। In case you have any particular doubt, suggestion, advice, you can write in the comment section below, and you can message to me, personal message or direct message on Instagram as well as Facebook. Just search my name, Rishabh Gang, RISHABH space GANG. Now I will be making the FM video, so see that also if you want. And I was really strong in FM. Our teacher actually conducted a mock test in which he gave the May 16 paper and of FM, and I scored 47 out of 50 in that paper. So I think I would be able to help you in FM also, and in FM I can make chapter wise videos also in case you have a problem there. So stay tuned to the channel and subscribe the channel if you like my videos, and share it if you think they can help the CA community. So thank you guys for watching this video. This is Rishabh Gang signing off.